Hi everyone, it's Margaret Manning here with lifeafterdeath.com. Lifeafterdeath.com is a community of people who are asking questions and investigating the topic of life after death, the afterlife, reincarnation, and issues related to spirituality. We also interview people who can give us credibility in an area of research and also help to discuss our relationship with death and our fears and our concerns. So welcome. Now, we have a website, lifeafterdeath.com, and feature articles on all kinds of topics. And we also review books and movies that we think help to engage and further the conversation. Today I wanted to tell you about an article that we wrote on Deepak Chopra's book called Life After Death, The Burden of Proof. Now, after researching life after death and comparative religion for many years, I've come to the conclusion that there's really no way that we can look at the question of life after death through one lens. It isn't going to be answered by just the scientific or the spiritual. It's somehow going to be a combination of those two things. I mean, science can tell us kind of the what and the how, and spirituality, religion can talk to us about the why. And so we need both of those conversations going on to really help us to understand what goes on after we die. What is the continuation of our consciousness or our bodies, or what happens? Now, Deepak Chopra is in fact the perfect person to be writing a book on this subject. This book called Life After Death, The Burden of Proof, is the outcome of a lot of his research from both sides. He is a medical doctor, and he also has a huge fascination with science. So I think he's done about 80 books now, and the very famous one, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, was just investigating how spirit can be incorporated into our day-to-day life. But in those 80 books, he has absolutely blended these two worlds of spirit and science. So I think he's a perfect person to look to when we're kind of trying to continue this conversation. So what does he say? Okay, well, he says basically that death is not a destination that is separate from our life. It's not this huge separation, this huge wall between life and death. That life after death, or whatever continues after death, is a continuation of our physical reality. And, we're a spiritual being in a body. And we are now, when we die, moving on to that next level of growth. And I know this all sounds a little bit abstract, and we do talk about this in more detail in the article, so please take a look at it. But in Deepak Chopra's perspective, life and death are both two sides of a coin of spiritual growth that takes us forward in our lives. And that's what we should, be looking at in the definition of what is life after death. So it's a continuation of our soul's journey. It's a continuation of our soul's journey. And whatever you want to call the soul, it's defined in one way by the religious traditions and in spiritual terms. And it's also talked about in terms of physical realities. And science is now getting deeper and deeper into the brain. And what is consciousness? Where does it live? Where do memories live? And what happens to that consciousness or those memories after we die? So I think, as Deepak Chopra would say, this whole discussion about life after death is a journey of the spiritual soul on its journey to be a spiritual being. Is it a spiritual body? Well, we don't know whether there is a physical body after we die. We don't know how the terms are determined in terms of coming back in another body. But I think the point that he makes, and I think it's so valuable, is that this is not an either or. This is not something we have to wait to, we're dying to sort of get to the bottom of. That we have an opportunity now to be exploring this very challenging concept, but to do it in a way that enriches our lives. I think we want to be all whole people. We want to be people that are looking at both the spiritual principles and values and how they are manifest in our everyday life, the way that we treat each other, the kindness or the compassion, the love that we share with our families and our friends and our colleagues and strangers. This is just a long spectrum, a continuum, and it's not something that we can say, this is absolutely sure, this is not absolutely sure. I think he would advise us to keep an open heart. and an open mind, and to investigate this soul's journey from all angles and to not narrow ourselves. So I really do recommend this book, Life After Death, The Burden of Proof by Deepak Chopra. He's an incredible man, a credible writer. I actually studied with him, many years ago, maybe 20 years ago, when I went to India to go to a Seduction of Spirit program with him. And so I'm very familiar with his work and with him as an individual, and I have a great deal of respect for him. So I think it's one of those books to add to your list. It's Deepak Chopra's Life After Death. Now, I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you have got some jewels, little gems from this conversation. Have you read the book? Have you read this book, Life After Death by Chopra? I'd like to know what you thought about it. What did you learn? And have you got any other books that you've read that have been very influential in your thinking about life after death? Well, thanks so much for being here, everybody. I hope that you enjoy the article. I appreciate your support for lifeafterdeath.com. We have our YouTube channel, of course. Please subscribe to it, and you'll be told when new videos are released. And we're also on Facebook, Life After Death, and just look forward to the conversation with you. We're talking with an open heart, with respect and love for each other, and hope that you find this helpful on your soul's journey. Take really good care, everybody. Have a fabulous day. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.